to Cinemando with Kathy and Melanie from Daisy Reviews. So, Devara, part 1. There's gonna be another part. So,
yeah.
That was a big NTR movie, just came out. I think it was one of his first movies since Triple R.
I think it was his very first one after Triple R, yeah. It came out in September, at the end of September.
Okay. I saw your review. It was very good.
I tried to be spoiler-free in my review on my channel, but this discussion, it's not come on streaming. And so this is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion. So
we'll try not to ruin it totally, but
well,
we are going to say
warning, fair warning.
Part 2 also, it's part 1, so there really isn't anything to spoil because, and maybe this is a spoiler in and of itself, there is no real ending to this. So it's like, okay,
I mean, it's like cliffhanger, kind of a thing. So this is NTR Jr.'s 30th major film as a lead actor. And so there was all this excitement around it, all this built up. And also after the success of RRR and the Oscars and all of that, right? So expectations also for me, sky high. And I'm going to be honest, I was hedged my bets a little bit in my review because I did think the spectacle of it was fun to watch on the big screen.
It was.
But I left not satisfied because part of it is it's part 1 and we're just setting up. And so we're setting up the story, but we don't get that payoff. I didn't have that emotional payoff when I left the theater. Like, oh, wow, that was a great story. Because we're leaving on a cliffhanger. And there was some good action sequences. There was some fun banter between his character and Janhvi and whatever. But still, I just was left, okay, this is a little bit of a taste, but where's the meat? Like, where's the main part of this story? And the people that are in it are amazing. So Janhvi Kapoor is in it. Saif Ali Khan plays in the backstory is a good friend of the Devara character. In the modern day is the nemesis of what is it? Bhaira, the son of Devara. And Janhvi Kapoor is being dubbed, so is Saif Ali Khan, but still their personalities come through on screen, even if it's someone's voice doing it. So Prakash Raj is sort of our narrator character, kind of telling us the story and the how it is. And then we have Shine Tom Chacko, who is a favorite of ours from Malayalam cinema. He kind of plays as a minor role as one of the smugglers. Kind of left like, I mean, it's on streaming now. So before, I did say it was worth to buying a ticket because of the spectacle of seeing some of these action sequences on the big screen was worth it. And the cinematography, I did think was excellent. That was our Ratna Velu is the cinematographer. I did think that was really something to see. But now that it's on streaming, I can say, it's worth a watch. But it's like the first film of Lord of the Rings where like set up.
Yeah.
Where are we going? What's happening? Like I'm saying,
I know. I think partly, I feel like the characters were not, they weren't emotionally invested in each other or us in a way. Like we weren't invested in them. I feel like the characters are very surface. They felt like placeholders. We didn't really know who they were. I didn't quite understand people's motivations. I felt like there was a lot of, like you were saying, beautiful cinematography, but people just kind of posing almost for a photo shoot inside the scene. I wish Janhvi Kapoor had been in it more. I feel like she barely registers. She was like in the background and just kind of.
I think this movie originally was just going to be one movie. And then some point during the filming, I think they decided to split it. And so that's the problem. I felt like they padded it out to 3 hours.
Right.
And yet, like we just got introduced to Janhvi's character. Yes, it's kind of amusing that she wishes her dream man, and yet, here's Bhaira, who seems like this timid coward. So she doesn't want anything to do with him. Okay, that's like the beginning of a something, but we don't get into the substance of what their relationship. Obviously, they're waiting for that for part 2. There's so much that we're waiting for part 2 to really get into the essence of the story. And instead we just it's like kind of prequel. So I didn't leave satisfied from the theater. I can't really necessarily fault NTR Jr. I felt like He acted fine. I love when he does comedy. I mean, he's a great action star.
Yeah.
But similar to RRR, where he's kind of
Yes.
playing this doofus who can't,
Yes.
needs Ram Charan's help romantically to approach Jenny.
Yeah.
Similarly, here he's playing this kind of coward doofus who's trying,
Mhm.
and we learn at the end he's trying to hide who he really is.
Yes.
This facade of being this, this doofus, this coward, whatever.
Yes.
And so he really is Janhvi Kapoor's dream man, but she doesn't know it yet. Okay, but we left hanging.
Exactly. And I didn't like that her dream man had to be this violent macho guy either. I just felt like that was such a trope, and I felt like it made her character very shallow to me. And I felt like it was sort of a disservice to her emotionally, if there were any, that I didn't really believe in the relationship or her even being with him. It just was so passive and terrible. And I
felt like in this first film, I think she was just there for comedic effect, basically.
Yeah.
To set up these scenes of showing him being a coward that she's witnessing.
Exactly.
And she was just kind of a placeholder and not really an essential part of the story and what they were telling in this first one, which was, here's the son, here's the backstory of the father, Devara, who said there shall be no more smuggling and whatever. And I mean, it was kind of interesting because when we saw the teasers and the trailers, I'm like, is this modern day? Is it like, it was all kind of piratey, right?
Yeah.
And when we see the opening action sequence and this, it's like, oh, they're on a container ship. This is not old-timey pirates.
Yeah, it's not pirates.
First, like
modern day pirates.
Modern day pirates. But like when we saw the trailer and it was just ocean and whatever, I'm like, I couldn't tell. I really couldn't tell.
No, so, I wish it had been. Like, I wish it had been more piratey. I think it would have had more of a personality, and it just felt like an old movie. Like and I have like a few. I took a few notes. Like I sometimes will just. I'm usually the only person in the theater when they go these.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm like, I love the shark sequence. The shark sequence that was in the trailer was probably like, what? And then it ended up being actually a really, really fun scene. I like the shark wasn't tame or anything. It was just trying to get away from NTR. It's like, get away from me. And he's hanging on to it. I thought that was kind of funny because he was kind of using it. The shark came back. The shark was also a plot point where the timid NTR character is dragging the shark and like, yes, I fought this shark and I brought it in, which was a total lie. And everybody knew it. And it was like, not fooling anyone. So that was kind of funny. That's sort of the comedy that was there. But overall, I felt the movie felt very contained and claustrophobic to me. It was all in this. It felt like it was all very set based. I felt like I felt like we were just always on the edge of a green screen that had kind of this fake, kind of vague sky and ocean. Like it felt very stagey. And I feel like we stayed in the same area for so long. It didn't have this big epic visual. I think the most epic scene was them in the Jeep driving up to the guy's house in the beginning, where you see this big, this drone shot. Overall, I felt like they didn't really explore the sets very much. They felt very built, the rocks all felt very fake, which is fine. It's a stylized sort of fantasy. I can go with it. But I feel like if you're going to do that, you need some big epic, Lord of the Rings. You mentioned that big Lord of the Rings, sky head or see the mountains, but we never really got a lot of that. So it always felt a little weird. And NTR's not really acting. He's just posing, which I mentioned. There was a lot of this, like look at the camera and freezing and like a cool pose. I mentioned he seems to get more emotional in the second half, I think because it was his wimpy character. I also like the kind of bait and switch that was. That was kind of a great reveal. Like when you find out, like he goes to see his mother and they're like, he's back. And it turns out he's been here all along. So that was pretty cool. I said, I like the super flashy title sequence. That's not necessarily a good thing to write down when you're watching a movie. That's the thing that stands out to you is the title sequence. But I did love Saif Ali Khan's intro was really fun. I love the big, he's just sort of sitting in this room and he kind of explodes on everyone. That was super great. And I did think he was a highlight, even though he didn't do a lot. We mentioned this. He just has a really great look. I loved his look in this. Like he just had a really
eyeliner,
the eyeliner, the baggy,
go together.
So cool looking. And
I mean,
he didn't do anything.
I know he's being dubbed, but he's still. I'll watch Saif Ali Khan glower. I love that he's doing these villain kind of roles in South Indian cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a long career in Hindi cinema, but I love this for him because I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And so he brings this presence, even if it isn't his voice doing the he's being dubbed. I still think he brings it. Same with Janhvi. I think she was very fun. Obviously, her voice is also dubbed, and I thought she did a good job, just as this bubbly kind of, again, comedic kind of, at least for right now, comedic character. I'm assuming there's going to be some more depth to both of them.
I'm hoping if this was the intro, that part 2 will actually have all the action and, like you said, the meat. Like, we're going to get to, hopefully we'll see the stakes, we'll get the emotion. I mean, it was really lacking a lot of emotion. I don't feel like there were really any big stakes. It felt a little restrained, and a little bland. But overall, it looked good. The tech was really seamless. It was beautifully shot. The lighting was really gorgeous. Overall, it had everything that should have been a great first act with no second and third act. So I'm hoping as we get to part 2 that we will bring in our second and third act, because it did feel like an extended setup that never really went anywhere. That's a little bit felt like.
And definitely the cliffhanger ending felt very much like a why did Koratala kill Bahubali kind of so and definitely that was just there to make you go, what
I can't wait to see part 2 now.
But after 3 hours it felt so abrupt, like what
it's like, again, why didn't we back this movie up so that we got to this sooner? It felt like there was a lot of filler at the beginning, and if they split the movie in half, it makes sense, because then you just had to expand it, and so they just kind of dragged it out a little bit. But I think when part 2 comes out, and we'll see how that is, it'll probably be worth seeing part 1. And since it's on streaming now, it's worth seeing, just because, put it on your big screen, put it on big and loud. It's totally fun. I mean, NTR is always a blast to watch. It's not, and Saif Ali Khan with his eyeliner. Everyone's got to see that.
Well, like I said, really great. There are some really great action scenes.
There are some great scenes.
And NTR is awesome in action, but he is also awesome in comedy.
Yes. And
we get both of those in this film. So love that. But I'm just left not completely satisfied. And there's been plenty of other movies that have split a story over multiple movies, and yet you still were satisfied with the first one, even if there was a lot of setup. And I felt like the problem is, it sounds like they went into it and then decided to split it, versus that being necessarily the plan from the beginning, and really making sure this script was robust enough for it as a standalone before you go on to the second part. So
exactly.
Anyway, but still, now that it's streaming, definitely
worth seeing. Yes.
And I'm still a fan of NTR Jr.
Oh, always. Yes. I mean,
love him.
This movie did not ruin him at all. It's still a good movie. It was a handsome production. It seems ambitious. They're going to go somewhere with this. And I love the ocean aspect of it, the whole, being on near the water and having that part of the story and everything. And it was important, but they need to speed it up a little bit. A little more editing, a little better writing.
Okay. I want your viewers to say in the comments. Now, Kathy, I don't think has ever seen NTR Jr. back in his roly-poly days. And those of you who are longtime fans know what I'm talking about.
Roly-poly.
He has totally buffed up, okay, in the last, 6 years or whatever it is. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like, he's totally slimmed down, totally done the action hero bod, the whole thing. But back in the day, it was a little bit roly-poly and a lot more funny. So what can you think of would be the best of his classic films for us to watch together, so she can see much more of that, when he was much more into the rom-com comedic persona? I'm immediately thinking of Yamadongo, which is one of my favorites. Like, he goes to hell, and he meets, his grandfather is a famous actor. Like, they digitally put in his grandfather, so they had a scene together, which was super fun. But anyway, really, I haven't seen every one of his old classic movies, so I'm open to anything. So viewers, please let us know, what is your favorite classic NTR Jr. film that we should watch together?
Yes, very good idea, because I want to see what is it I need to fill out my NTR catalog that I need to see. I'm going to see all his best movies, even the roly-poly ones.
He's still cute, but
he's always cute. There's no way he can't.
He's definitely not going for the shirtless scenes in some of these old movies. I love him anyway.
So good because he just seems like a cute, cool guy, you know, no matter what. And even in this movie, he kind of did the roly-poly act because he wasn't being the macho guy.
He had, I would say this American Rivers, he kind of had a John Belushi, like anything could happen, kind of an energy about him. You know, like any kind of chaos could happen at any moment.
That's so funny. True. So yeah, be sure and let us know in the comments, you know, what your favorite NTR movies are. I'd love to know. And be sure and subscribe to Melanie's channel. Cinemando, hit the bell because you don't want to miss it. We do a lot of stuff between the two of us. You don't want to miss it. A lot. So let us know what you think.